Okay.
So yesterday we covered rest assured at the basic level, that is at the foundation. Now we get to know that rest assured is a Java domain specific language. It works only in Java. So for us to be able to access rest assured as an API testing tool or library, we have to use it in certain IDE that are specifically for Java. So yesterday I introduced um, ID that are mainly used for Java. We have Eclipse, we have IntelliJ. We use the community version, which is free for all. And you can also use the ultimate version, which is the premium version you have to pay for. So because IntelliJ is very good in IntelliSense, it has an intelligent sense for us to be able to detect any option or any mode that we need. We go with IntelliJ rather than using Eclipse. Eclipse is old version and we can use that. So I suggested that we use IntelliJ and how to download it on their website from jetbrains.com. So after that, we also look at the key concepts which we are familiar with, the HTTP methods. The HTTP method we are familiar with, which is the get, the post, the put, and the delete. Also, if you're also familiar with patch, also we also talked about that yesterday. For yesterday, we were using JSON placeholder, which which is a free API, fake free API resource for us to be able to get some resources on from their website. So for the for the test application we're building yesterday, we started with the get method, which is the retrieve data. And in the retrieve data, we also created some files and folder in IntelliJ. And I said that when you have downloaded your application yesterday, there's a way you go to the modal. When you open your application newly, you go to the modal, you see the test tools or what's it called, the menu bar up here, and you click on the file. From the file, you click on the new project. It has to be a new project for you to be able to create a new project. So when you click on a new project, you create the name of your project. You create the location where you want to save your project. You also click on the language you want to work with. And naturally, we are working with Java. And we have different build system. And if you are coming from JavaScript, you understand that build system is also packages like npm packages. So like npm, excuse me, node package module, where you have the npm in JavaScript, you have what's it called, the way you run it in Python also. But here in Java, we mainly use Maven because Maven is simply and free for all also. We also have Gradle and we also have IntelliJ. We also have any other build system in Java also, but the popular one is Maven. We also have the JDK, which I tell you, what's it called yesterday? I spoke about it, that is the version of Java we are working with. So then you go ahead and click the create button. You don't have to click on the advanced settings. Just click the create button and we are done. So from there, we're able to create our REST project. And we have two files under the SRC, which is the source application, the source folder, excuse me, the source folder. And in the source folder, we have the main and we have the test. What we are doing is testing, API testing. So we go to the test folder. So in the test folder, we have Java. So when we go to Java, we create several folders where we have to make use of our rest assured. And the reason why we created this folder is for seamless operation of our test so that we don't have everything in one place. It's not as if we can't have all these applications we split into three in a place. But the reason why we splitted it in, we have the config folder, we have the test folder, we have the utils, is because we'll be able to easily access our folder and have a seamless operation of our tests. So here we have the config folder where I created the test folder and I talk about this file as a configuration file. It's a file where you have to create a class, the test config class. We also create a method, which is a constant method, the method that do not change. And we name the variable JSON placeholder base URI. And this variable holds this URL to the API you want to test. So for instance, if in your company and you are using Java in your company, right? And they told you should use REST Assured to test the API. This, you create a file in a config folder. You can call it configuration folder. You can call it any name, and you create a file there where you store whatever you're going to use. That is the variables you are going to use, either the environmental variables, the authorization key, the what's it called, the variables you don't want to be exposed. You store it in your configuration file here, and that's how we have the test config file, and we are able to declare this variable and store this URL in this variable. So from there, I also talk about the utils or the utility. That is, the utils is what are the responses we expect. And I made reference to the postman, right? I said postman as when you send your URL to the postman, it gives you certain responses. Sometimes, what's it called? You see the time in which your response was able to respond. What's it called? The timing of your response, excuse me, the timing of your response. You also see if it's giving you HTML response or XML response or JSON response or even GraphQL response. Also, when you send your URL in Postman, right? You also have, apart from the timing, you also have the status code that it gives you. Is it 200? Is it 500? Is it 400? Is it 300? And these are what are in your utils folder or your utils directory. So that's why I created a test utility. So yesterday when we started progressing, I created a class in this test utility file where we have the test utility class. In the test utility class, if you are familiar with Java or you are familiar with any OOP language, and I made reference to JavaScript, which is also a functional and OOP language. Also, I made reference to Python, which is an OOP language. They have classes, they have methods. In JavaScript, I know you will be familiar with what's it called? Method as function, right? Hello?
We can hear you.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So I don't know if we have any JavaScript guru here who is familiar that what's it called? JavaScript makes use of functions, right? That's what I'm asking. That does JavaScript make use of function in JavaScript?
Yes.
Cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, in Java, we don't use functions. We use classes and we use methods. So methods are a function. So that's why I created this function, sorry, this method, which you can relate to as function also. But in this method, we have parameters. The parameters are called response. We have response and we have expected status code. But because Java is a strict type language, we will have to declare it strictly based on the type. For this our response is taking this response from REST assured. And that's where we start using our REST assured in API testing to be able to verify the status code we are expecting. And here the second parameter is taking an integer. And you know, when you're expecting a status code, you expect an integer. You expect 200. You expect 201. You expect 202. So that's why we have the int expected status code. So int means integer, number. So that's why we declare this parameter here. So after the declaration, we also declare a variable. And this variable is called actual status code. That is, what is the actual status code we are expecting? So after the declaration, we make sure that it is an integer we are expecting, and we have the variable called actual status code. And what we are expecting is for the rest assured, the response here, to get the status code that the resource is sending to us. So after getting the status code, we want Java. That's now system.out.println print new line is a Java function, right? So we want Java to print it to our terminal. So that's why we have this thing. If you're working with JavaScript, you are familiar with console log. If you're working with Python, you're familiar with printf or println. So that's why we have the system.out.printing. So we have this string saying status code. So yeah, when I ran this code yesterday, we have this thing status code, which I wrote down here with a semicolon, and it was able to print out the actual status code that the resource was sending. And that's why we have 200. So what we want now is, after the declaration that it should print it to the terminal, we have something called assert. Now assert is coming from testng, and that's why we have the import org testengine.assert. So when we put the method assert from testng, we were able to access, because it's an object, so we access assert equals. And if you remember yesterday, I was talking about BDD, that rest assured works with, is a behavior driven development testing tool. So because it's a behavior driven development testing tool, you want to confirm, is the actual status code similar to the expected status code? The actual status code is similar to the expected status code, then it should confirm it and pass it. But if it's not similar, it should fail it. So that's why when it confirmed that the actual status code and the expected status code were similar, it was able to print out the status code 200. And we have the total test run 1. It passes 1. There were no failure. There were no skips. So that's how we were able to declare and verify our status code. But this evening now, we will continue with other aspects of verification. The one we talked about now, or the one I've just finished talking about and talked about, is the verify status code. So today we are going to verify the response time, and also, if time permits, we print the whole response of the resource to the terminal. So before I move ahead, also, I don't know if we also remember that we talk about pom XML. In JavaScript, we use npm install to install our packages. In Python, also, we have what's it called, the reference file, where we also have to install our packages. But here in Java, we go to the Maven repository, because we are working with Maven build system, and we search for whatever we want to search. Now, we were using Rest Assured. You can go to Rest Assured website and click on the Maven. Let me try. Excuse me. You can go to the Rest Assured website, which is restassured.io, and click on the website, go there and click directly, excuse me, on this Maven Central. It will take you to where you can copy the XML and paste it in your pom.xml folder. And that's how we have it here. Also, for the testng and for the JSON, and I told you that the reason why we're using org.json is because we want our resource to print it out for us prettily, so that it will not be scattered. So that's why we're using org.json. So as I said, before we can install anything, we have to go to the Maven repository, search for whatever we want to say, like testng, like org.json, copy whatever we want to copy here, and paste it in our pom.xml. And that's how we have it here in the dependencies section. So after that, we have a little pop-up or something like this on the sidebar here. We have Maven, and you can click on the reload icon and it will install it for you automatically. And that's one of the benefits of IntelliJ IDE. So after all these processes, we can now continue with what we are doing yesterday. So I will go back to the test utility, and today we move on to creating the verify response time. So we want to verify the response time, and we want to print out the resource to the terminal. So in the test utility class, I'm going to declare a method public, and it's going to be static void. But before I go ahead, do you have any question for me right now? Is there anywhere you want me to elaborate more before I move ahead with the creation of the method, please?
Um, um,
What do you say? What?
I want to ask,
Okay.
in each classes, are we expected from the this one? For example, now for this test activities now in the line 3 and 4 we imported also in test Java placeholders. We also did the same thing there. Like, is it necessary we do that?
Like, can you please come back? I didn't hear you very well. Hello?
Hello, Boyinde.
Hello, good evening.
I think maybe we should continue. Maybe he's trying to get to you.
Okay. So right now I'm going to create another method called verify response time. So I want to verify the response time in this class. So I'm going to create this method in this class, in the test utility class. So yeah, we have I'm going to declare it like public static void verify response time. So in the verify response time, it's going to also take two parameters or two arguments. And naturally, the first one is going to be the response from the rest assured. So it's going to verify, is the response time what we are expecting? So that's why I'm going to write a response here. And we also want to verify the time. But in Java, we have different kind of integer. We have different kind of number. We have the normal int, which is the small int. That's why we have 200, 300. We also have what we call long. Long is not big int, but is also similar, kind of similar to big int, but it's a very long number, just as the name is. So right now I'm going to declare long max time. That is the maximum time I'm expecting for the resource to load or to be printed on the terminal. So after declaring the parameter, I will go ahead and declare the variable, which is long, and I'm expecting the response time. Goes to response. That is this response from the parameter, and I'm going to access it and get time. And we have it here. And you can see on the modal is giving us long. That is what is expecting is a long type of time or the long type of number. So the number has to be like 22,000 milliseconds or 20,000 milliseconds. So I'm going to enter and end the statement with a semicolon. So after that, we go to the assert, which is also from TestNG. So assert here, I'm going to assert that is the time true? Is it true that the time is similar to the max time and is similar to the response time? So yeah, I'm going to, is a Boolean. I want to confirm is it true or false? So that if it's true, it passes, and if it's false, it fails. So yeah, I'm going to say assert true and enter. But here it's giving me error, and the error is string message, that it wants a message in this place. So here in the message, we have the response time should be less than the maximum time. That is, the response time should not exceed the max time, which we are going to declare later. So after this, I'm going to give it a message that response time should concatenate with the response time I'm expecting plus what's the millisecond I'm expecting that should not exceed the maximum time. After that, I'm also expecting the max time plus what's the millisecond it is given for the max time. So yeah, I've been able to assert if it's true from test-ng that if the response time is less than the maximum time, then we are going somewhere, it is true. But if it is greater, or if it is if it is greater than the maximum time I'm expecting, it should fail. That is, if what I'm expecting is 3,000 and it gives me 4,000, then it's going to fail. But if what I'm expecting is 3,000, right, but it gives me something like 2,800 milliseconds, then it's going to pass. So yeah, after declaring this in my utility file, I will go to the JSON placeholder, and I will also declare a new method in the JSON placeholder class. So in the JSON placeholder class, I'm going to, sorry, not JSON placeholder class, because you are still accessing the get all posts. So we want to get all posts. So we've already verified the status code. So now I want to verify the response time. So yeah, I'm going to say test utility dot verify response time, and it's going to say response, and what we are expecting for the maximum time should be 1,500. Yeah, so we are good to go. So right now I'm going to run it. I can run it from this place and I can run it here. So yeah, I'll run it, run JSON placeholder, and it's building it up, passing the Java. Either because of my network is slow, so we have to wait a little bit. Okay, yes. Boy, you raised up your hand, please. Hello, Boyde.
Okay. I'm sorry about that earlier.
Okay, so you were saying
I
something.
want to ask, a, yeah, I want to ask a question now
Okay.
about that the declaring stuff. For example, now, is it every case study or every scenario that we declared, like the import stuff? Like, is it everything? Like in your this thing now, your packages now, you have different folders, yes, and you have different Java
Yes.
different classes. Each of them we were declaring them. That was the imports for this thing.
Okay.
Then is it every thing you must declare them or just some?
Okay, if I understand your question, you were saying that must we declare the import for every class, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for every class, now, we have test utility class. We also have JSON placeholder class. So the classes or the imports you want to make use of, for instance, now we are making use of what's it called, rest assured, right? And we are making use of the response. But yet in JSON placeholder, we're making use of rest assured itself. So whatever you want to use in any class, for instance, you can declare another class where you want to use the post method, right? So if you are able to declare what's it called, if it's assert equal, you can declare assert equal here, and to import it from the POM XML or from test.ng. And in test utility class, you can declare another different something. So whatever you want to make use of, so you have to be declaring it. If it's rest assured.response, you have to declare it. If it's what's it called, assert equal, you have to declare it. If it's to get time, you have to declare based on the class you want to use it for. For this test utility, is a class where I'm just declaring the utility I want to go and use here in the JSON placeholder. So that's why when I came here, I was only declaring the annotation test from test.ng for me to be able to emit any to be able to do anything in any class. So based on the class you are declaring, it depends on what you want to import. I don't know if you get me, or I don't know if I answered your question. Is it clear, Boide?
Yeah, you must.
Okay, cool. Cool. So right now we are getting an error. And what we expected was true. Yes, somebody. So yeah, we are getting an error. What we expected was true and the actual was false. So it's telling us that the assert failed. Why? Because the time exceeded. We have 1 minute 28 seconds. So we want to go and verify. We can see the red here. So I want to go and verify. So on my keyboard, I'm going to click on the control and you see the blue, what's it called? The blue highlight. I click on it and I go back to what is wrong. So what is wrong is because my maximum time is higher. Sorry, my response time is higher than my maximum time. My maximum time was 1,500. And what's it called? The test failed at 1 minute 28 seconds. And if we calculate it times millisecond and whatever, is very, very high. But then let's go back to our JSON placeholder and change this to, let's change it to 45. And I'm going to run it again. It's going to take time. But then while we wait for this, let's also continue to create our utility class. So yeah, we've already verified the response time, and we can see that the response time failed because the maximum time was 1,500, while the response time was giving us 1 minute 28 seconds. You can see response time 2,304, exceed maximum time 23 milliseconds, exceed maximum time of 4,500 milliseconds. So it fails because this is what we assert. We said the response time should be less than the maximum time. What if we not change the response time to be higher than the maximum time? Let's see what it's going to give us. So yeah, I will go to the JSON placeholder because this is where the test, from test.ng annotation is giving us so that we can able to emit whatever I want to emit on the terminal. So yeah, I'm going to click on the run again and see if it will pass because we've changed it in the test utility that the response time should be greater than the maximum time. So we will wait a little bit before I. So while we wait, is there any other question you want to ask regarding this process? Yes, Dari, please.
Okay. I want to ask. Is is it maybe is it how it is at for rest assured? Like you are inputting the data in milliseconds, but on the terminal it's showing it in minutes and seconds. Are we supposed to always convert to confirm what every minute is in milliseconds to be sure? Because
Okay,
I
so
go ahead, okay.
okay, sorry for cutting you off. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, for Intel, the reason why it's showing minutes and we are also showing millisecond also in terminal is because we are using IntelliJ. IntelliJ will show you the build time system on here. That's why we are saying 1 minute 20 seconds. But you can see that when what's it called, the error was coming in, it was able to give us 23,000 milliseconds specifically. So because we are using IntelliJ, IntelliJ is a very, I don't want to call it, maybe it uses, is very high in intelligence. So it's going to give us the, what's it called, the results before the terminal can even emit the results. So for Java, and because I'm using IntelliJ, that's why you're able to see it in minutes. If you want to convert it to minutes for you to quickly know the error, and because I stated specifically that I want to see the error also in terminal, that's why you were able to see it in minutes on this. You can see we have the minutes here. And what's it called? You can see that when it run the test, it passes, but it's not, or what's it called? It's not giving us the, um, okay, because it passes, it's not giving us the millisecond printed on the terminal. But here, what I can do for me, so that instead I'm not going through the, what's it called, the conversion, is for me to declare a variable, right, Dari, for me to declare a variable where it will give me the specific millisecond I'm expecting. For instance, now I'm going to say system, or if you are using JavaScript, you know that system.out.println is also similar to console log. So I'm going to say dot out dot print the, excuse me, response time. So yeah, I'm going to ask it that it should print the response time for me to be able to see the response time instead of me waiting for IntelliJ to tell me the response time. So it depends on what you want to do in Java. You can declare that, oh, give me the response time on terminal by yourself, or you can just use that of IntelliJ because IntelliJ has its own build system. You can use that of IntelliJ to just convert it in your brain if you want to go ahead. Do I answer your question, Dari?
Yes, I you did.
Okay, cool. So you can see that because I make sure that the response time is higher than the, okay, yes, Ambibola. I don't, Ambibola Samson, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, so
Okay.
I wanted to find out, would it be because of the connectivity, maybe the slow connectivity, that's why you're having a longer timing? Because if the connectivity were to be responding very fast, if it were to be rapid, we would have
Yeah.
been able to meet up with this maximum time
Yes, you have
instead of
so,
increasing the response time now.
yes, you are very
Yeah,
right. What's it called?
okay.
What's it called? The issue I'm writing right now is the connectivity. My network is so slow because 23 milliseconds is too much, and the risk, nobody wants to wait for a resource of 23 milliseconds. Like you want everything to be rapid fire. So for me to be getting a response of 23 milliseconds is from my side. My network is very, very slow. So that's why I have to make sure that the response time is higher than the maximum time which I'm expecting and which I declared here. So when it was sending the maximum time, you can see it here. The maximum time is 4,000 milliseconds, which is even high for a resource. But then the network here is very, very bad. So you have to accept me like that.
Sorry, you said 4,000, 4,005 is high. That's like
Yes, it's
less, that's like less than
yeah.
5 seconds.
Yes, a resource. Nobody wants, like, a resource should be able to send me something between, what's it called, less than 1,000 milliseconds. Why? Because it's if it's a very good website, right, and a user is registering, as is registering, is trying to peruse the other resources in in the website. If it's sending something like 4,000 milliseconds, it will slow down the processing unit of the whatever they build the system on. So it's not good for, and the server will be slow. For instance, we are using Java, and Java deals with enterprise, where, how would I say, it deals in multi-threads. So it's sending information, receiving information. And as a user, I go to a website. As I'm accessing this website, I'm going to this place again. I'm accessing it. While I wait again, and I'm accessing this place. So the threads are coming in, the information are coming in. I don't want to be waiting for a 45 millisecond information. So that's why, I say 45 milliseconds is so high, because nowadays we are sending information back and forth. That's why I don't know if you know the issue of the issue with NVIDIA when they were working with their AI. I don't know if you're familiar with NVIDIA. So one of the issue they raised in their conference was when a user is sending an image, they want to process that image, see if it matches whatever image the user sends, and also confirm it also doesn't match with the security. If it matches with the security, we also want to confirm does the information that matches with the security is viable for us to be able to send it back. So all these things should be done within 1,000 milliseconds. So that's why I said 4,500 milliseconds is very high. So do I answer your question, Dari?
Yes. Yes, I'm
Cool.
also.
What do you say?
I said yes, yes, yes. It's actually actually good.
Okay, cool. So now that we've confirmed that our response time is working because we make it exceed the maximum time, which is very wrong. It should not exceed the maximum time. It should be less than the maximum time. We are good to go. But then I'm going to change it that it should be less than maximum time, because that is the correct thing in real life. So following that, we want it to print out the resource. What is the resource we are getting? So here, I'm also going to declare another method in this class, in test utility class. So I go with public again, static void, and call it print the response. And what we are expecting is only a parameter. What we are expecting is the parameter response. We just want the response. We don't want to verify anything. Give us the response. Let's see if it's the response. So yeah, I'm going to get the response from rest assured and declare the parameter here. So yeah, after the declaration of parameter, I want it to print it to the terminal. So when you print it to the terminal, I want the body also system.out. So I want to response, which is the response parameter here, dot. I want to get the body, the resource you are expecting. I don't know if you are familiar with body in Postman, so you know that we are getting the resource itself, followed by, I want it to be a pretty string, not scattered. And we are done. Wait, where is this coming from? So after this declaration, I'm going to go to the JSON placeholder. And also access it here. That test utility dot want to verify, print the response. So after accessing, we want to print the response. So it's going to print the response to the terminal. So yeah, I'm going to run the code again. Remember, what we're working on is the get method. So we want to get all posts. So it's going to print all the posts. Yeah. And we wait for it to do that. Yeah, we have an error because we make sure that the response time is less than the maximum time. So it's not going to run the second one. What if I now put this one as the first one to run? Excuse me. And I run it again. So while we wait for this, I'm going to also, what's it called? I want to declare another. We have it. So because of the way we set our utility file, the utility method, we want it to first of all print the response, print the status code, now verify the response. And because the response time is higher than the maximum time, we have a test field. But because of the way it was set, print the response first. So it's able to print out the response, and we have the response here from JSON placeholder. After printing the response, give us the status code. After giving us the status code, what is the response time? The response time is 22,505 milliseconds. And what it's expecting is 4,005. You can see response time, this exceed the maximum time, 4,500 milliseconds. So it's going to fail the test. So we have the total test run, passes 0, failure 1, and there's no skips. So that's the end of getting all post tests. So any question before we move to get post by Heidi list?
I want to ask a question, please. So is it safe to ignore that failure that is there since it is a factor that we cannot control? Then we can move on with what we are doing. Because
Okay.
of connectivity
It's not
issues.
safe. It's not safe to ignore it. What we can do is to declare what's it called, an error message. But for me to start going to error message, what's it called, you have to understand what's it called, the structure in which you can declare an error message. You have to understand POM. You have to understand that what's it called, several aspects of Java, and that is going to be a long journey. So that's why I'm not going to declare it in this class. Maybe where we have any further class, we can go ahead and declare that one. Because it's not safe for you to ignore the verify response time. Because when you push to your company's what's it called, CI, your company's pipeline, this thing is going to affect it. Like you can, when you see the response time exceeding maximum time, that's a failure already. So what's it called? The resource is not viable. So it's not going to be okay for you to do that. So what you do is to create another, what's it called? Another folder here, and create an error handler where you're going to handle this kind of error. So that what's it called, when such thing comes out, it's going to print out. That's why you will see, maybe when you access any website, you will see that they will say that this resource is not available because the time or the connectivity is not available. That's why when you open your browser, you have a low connectivity. You'll see it will tell you that, oh, sorry, the problem is from us, or you can check your connection. So it's because of the way they handle the error. But for me to start going into that is going to kind of complicate what's it called, issue for a basic class like this. So that's why I'm not going into that right now.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yes. But what we can do so that we don't see this error again is for me to go to test utility. Instead of saying less than, which is wrong, I can just say, what's it called? The response time is greater than this. So now that we have seen the resource, we go ahead and create another test for get a particular post. So yeah, also in this class, public class JSON placeholder, I'm going to create an annotation at test. From there, I'm going to declare a method public void get post by ID. So we want to get a particular post by ID. And since we want to get a post by ID, we are going to declare the ID. We declare the post ID. And naturally, you know that your post ID is verified, as a, excuse me, let me, the terminal. Oh, shit. Yeah. When we got the response from JSON placeholder, yeah, when we get the response from JSON placeholder, we have the user ID, we have the ID, which is an integer. If your ID is a UI, this one that looks like string, I've forgotten the name. What is it? You have to use a string. But since our ID is an integer, we are going to declare it as an integer, and we are going to declare it here int post ID equals to, we are getting 2. We want to access this post. So after declaration, we also have to declare the response we are getting. And we say response is equals to rest assured, the way we declare it here, dot given. And I told you before that rest assured is a BDD type library. So yeah, we have the given, we have the then, and we have the when. So we have given empty parameter. We want the path parameter, that is the path params. And what did I mean by path params? When you are getting a certain post, you are getting a certain post, you will see something like slash, excuse me. You will see something like slash the ID, a question mark, that's ID2 or ID3 or something. So that's why we call it path params here. So I'm going to declare the path params and call it ID. It should map through the resource. It should map through the post ID. So that's why we have the ID. And we call it post ID. And we have when, which is also going to be empty. When the parameter is empty, you have to get post slash ID empty. So after this, I'm going to call my test utility that after getting this post ID, print the response. And we have response, which I declared here. I also wanted to print the status code. Print and verify the status code. I want the response. I want the status code to be 200. So after that, because you are getting a certain post by ID, I'm going to say response dot. Then the body should have, because yeah, we have ID, we have what's it called, the user ID, we have the title, we also have the body. So I want the response body to have, to make sure that it has the ID, and the ID must be equals to the post ID, which I declare here. Excuse me, equal. Now I have an error. And the reason why I have an error is because I didn't add AMCREST. AMCREST is what makes sure that, okay, what you're expecting matches what is being given. So that's why I say you should use IntelliJ. IntelliJ is very good in what's it called, giving you options and IntelliSense for whatever you want to do. So because I'm using IntelliJ, I can go to the more actions. Excuse me. What's it called? It has create a local variable, create field, create parameter, rename reference. I'm not creating local variable. I just want to what's it called, make sure that it comes from the AMCREST. And yeah, I'm going to go to Maven repository, search for AMCREST. And we have the org.amcrest. Click on this. And I'm going to copy it in the poetom.xml. So now it has resolved it. So yeah, I'm going to import static org.amcrest. What I need is the matches. And I need everything in the matches, that is the whole library in the matches. And I'm done. You can see it. So we don't have any error again. So it must equals to the post ID. Followed by that, we want the body also to have the user ID. So user ID, which is coming from this place. And we want to make sure that the user ID is not a null value. That is not empty, it has something. And this is also coming from the AMCREST, which I imported here. I also want the body also to have a title. Let me see how they spell their title. Okay. And also, I don't want the title to be null. So that's why I'm going to use the not null class. I also want the body to have a body. And I'm going to call it body. And it's going to be not null value also. So if the body is not null, and the title is also not null, and the user ID is not null, and the ID is not null, it should pass everything, and we end the statement. So right now, I'm going to run for this one. Since we've already tried to get all posts, I'm going to comment it out and run only this get post by ID. So right now it's building it up and it's going to put it in the terminal. So any question? Oh, we have a invalid path parameter expected on the other. So the ID are 2. We have an invalid path parameter. Okay, the reason why is not using brackets. It should be using, okay, it's an object. Excuse me, I made a mistake. So we have ID. Now I'm going to run it again. Okay. So now we are able to get our result and everything passes. There's no failure. So we are able to get the user ID, which is 1. We also have the ID, which is 2. We have the title, which is QSSA. Also here, we also have the body also. So this shows that the get post by ID also passes well. So do we have any question or any addition or anything before we round off? Hey, Taiwo. Hello, Taiwo. I can hear you. Hi, Taiwo.
The org.amcrest, what is this one?
Okay, the org.amcrest is for...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, do you
So
remember
what
I
is
told...
it for?
Okay, cool. You remember I told you that Rest Assured is a BDD library, is a behavior library. So the reason why we're using AmCrest is a matcher that want to confirm that, okay, if you're 2, the 2 that you stated here, because we stated that, okay, the ID must be 2. If the 2 that we stated is surely 2 in the resource, that's what AmCrest is used for. Okay, if you have user ID, for instance, now, if I turn this user ID to just user, you know that in my resource, what I'm expecting is user ID. And for AmCrest wants to make sure that, okay, is it truly user ID that is in the resource? If it's truly user ID and is not null, give it to us. But if I go and say that, okay, this thing is user and in the resource is user ID and is empty, AmCrest is going to tell me that this is so wrong and I'm going to have what's it called, a test that is not passing. Is that clear?
So AmCrest works like an assertion.
Yeah, AmCrest, no, I won't say it works like an assertion. AmCrest work like, does it matches? Like, it's not an assertion, because assertion have to make sure that, okay, you assert, you want to make sure that this is equals to, and if it's equals to, give it to us. But matcher, you want to say, okay, you have user ID, and this thing is also user ID. Okay, let the assertion now continue. But if this is user ID, and in my own, what's it called, statement, I said is user, it will tell the assertion which we are getting from TestNG, oh, don't move on with this. So TestNG is going to say, okay, we are going to stop. We are not moving on with this. Do I answer your question or is confusing?
No, it's very, very clear. Thank you.
Okay. So any other question? Any other question?
Question I will ask, is this the normal flow or the structure for for testing?
You said, is this the normal flow for Rest Assured, right?
The structure, yeah, this is the basic structure for.
Yes. What's it called? This is the basic structure for Rest Assured. But then, you know, as you continue to have larger API, you will have, apart from what's it called, URL, you will have, so instead of us having this JSON placeholder, or something. You can have what's it called? Let's say you have an application for e-commerce. In this test, you will have what's it called? Different folder. You will create another folder for what's it called? Sorry, another package for login. You create another package for register. You create another package for accessing the cart, all those things. So what's it called? After creating those things, you also come to this place, also in this Java, you create where you handle the error, or you are expecting for error, you are expecting for what's it called, any kind of error or not found error. In this Java, you create a package where you will call it, what's it called, error handling or anything. So that's the normal way of just stating your test for rest assured. Okay, so any other question?
Yes, I have mine's not sorry. Good evening. Mine's
Good evening.
really like a question, but I want the sign. Okay, let me use the one on the parts parameter. There's a sign that looks like an S or dollar sign before the ID that is in strange. Please, what's the sign for?
Okay, is it in the response here, the body? This place, right? Can you see what I'm showing?
Not where your cursor is. After the gets body by ID. If you
Okay,
come down, yes, this gets. There's
okay,
a yeah,
yes,
this
this S
yeah.
means, what's it called? I told you that IntelliJ it has intelligence. So it's telling us that, oh, in your get, we are expecting a string. So that's why I put it in a string like this. So it's telling me that this is a string. This is a
Oh,
string, you
okay.
can say. So it's telling me, if you notice also in this test utility, it also bring out message, or we are expecting a message. You can see that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah, you're welcome. So any other question also? Well, if there's no question, we have come to the end of the basic process of accessing rest assured. And if you want to further, we have the Rest Assured platform where you can further and learn more about Rest Assured, learn how to handle the error handling, learn how to create more folders or use more, what's it called, applications that are more complicated than the basic one we are working on. Use the application interface to learn more about Rest Assured in Java. And as you can see, Java is very interesting. You're able to what's it called, create your um class, create the method, understand what is going on with your application. Because with Java now, we are able to understand that, oh, what's it called, what I'm expecting is an int, and what I'm going to get is also an int. What I'm expecting is a long, and what I'm going to get is a long. And when you want to use Java, I also recommend that you use ID, what's it called, IntelliJ ID. We have any other tools. Even you can use Visual Studio Code, but I'm not a fan of Visual Studio Code for Java. So I guess that's all for today, and I'm so glad to be able to take this class.